Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's story. I promise it's going to be a fun one.
We were never going to pay her, Lauren said, like it was a joke I was supposed to laugh at. The bakery was packed. Heat rolled off the ovens. The air tasted like sugar and yeast. My daughter was behind the counter, moving fast, trying to keep up, her small hands raw from work that was never meant for her. I looked past her and saw my mother, Patricia, sitting in the back with a coffee. Calm. Watching. That was the betrayal. That was the danger. Because Chloe's hands were bruised, her face was tight with exhaustion, and the laptop she'd been working toward her online class, her pride was being taken from her in plain sight. If you've ever watched an adult smile while your child is being used, tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one. I didn't introduce myself to anyone. I didn't explain why I was there. I just stepped closer and asked, "Where is her pay?" Lauren leaned on the counter and shrugged. "She's family." Patricia didn't even stand up. She just said, cold and flat, "People don't charge family. This is for her own good." Chloe heard it. I saw her eyes change. First confusion, then shame, then tears she tried hard not to let fall. Lauren added, "Don't be naive, sweetheart." That word hit my 8-year-old like a slap. My daughter is 9 now, but this happened when she was 8. I'm telling it because time doesn't erase what it taught her. We live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm just a regular working mom. Not powerful, not connected. I'm the one people expect to stay quiet. Chloe loves drawing more than anything. She wanted a simple laptop. $200. Nothing fancy. Just enough to take an online class and keep building her little world. I could have handed her the money. I didn't. I told her I wanted her to earn it, to feel what work means, to feel that pride. I thought I was doing something good. Chloe came up with the idea herself. "What if I work at Grandma Patricia's bakery?" she asked me. "They always say they need help." My stomach tightened when she said it. Not because I thought the bakery was dangerous, but because I know my family. I know how the word family gets used like a rope. When I mentioned it to Patricia, she acted relieved. Then she turned it into pressure in the same breath. "Family helps family," she said, again and again. "Don't be selfish, Olivia. We're all we have." Lauren piled on with a softer voice. "It'll be good for Chloe. She'll learn responsibility." I said yes, but I set one condition. Clear, simple. Chloe works only if she's paid $14 an hour. Patricia nodded like I was being dramatic, but she nodded. Lauren nodded too. "Cash at the end of the month," she said. "Of course." Chloe started the next day, 4 hours after school, and Saturdays, the whole day, because that's when they said they needed her most. Week 1, Chloe was proud, tired but proud. She came home smelling like bread. She talked about wiping tables and stacking boxes. She told me, "They said they'll add it up at the end of the month." Week 2, she started coming home late. "The shop was too crowded," she'd say. "They needed me to stay." I called Patricia. She made it sound normal. "It's busy, Olivia. We can't just leave customers standing there." Week 3, I saw the bruises on Chloe's hands, dark spots along her fingers. She tried to hide them by curling her hands into her sleeves. "What happened?" I asked. She hesitated. "I carried flour bags," she admitted. "Aunt Lauren said it's fine." I called Lauren. She didn't sound sorry. "It teaches her to be mature," she said. "She'll be stronger." Week 4, Chloe worked 9 hours one Saturday. No break. When she came home, she was pale and quiet. I asked what she ate. She said, "A cookie." "A cookie for lunch?" I asked. "She didn't need a big meal," Patricia said later, like she was proud. "She's learning discipline. It's for her future." By week 5, the tight feeling in my chest never went away. I stopped by without warning. I walked in and saw Chloe on her knees, scrubbing the floor. My mother stood over her with her arms crossed, supervising like Chloe was a problem that needed correcting. Chloe glanced up at me, eyes wide, like she was afraid I'd make it worse. Patricia said, "She needs to understand work isn't fun." I said nothing. I told myself, just make it to payday, get her money. Then we're done. No fight, no family war. Week 6, I couldn't wait anymore. I went in at peak hour. Chloe was running the front alone, while 2 grown women sat in the back with coffee. It was like they had decided her small body could replace their labor. That's when I asked about the money. Lauren laughed. Patricia turned her lesson into a verdict. Chloe cried, and standing there, watching my child get humiliated in public by her own family, I understood the truth. That day, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse them in front of customers. I just took a breath and looked at Chloe's face. She wasn't asking for extra. She was asking for what was promised. Patricia kept repeating, "for the family," like it was a phrase that erased my daughter's bruises. Lauren kept acting like she was doing Chloe a favor. And Chloe kept standing there, trying to be polite, trying to earn something she earned. I felt small, but I refused to stay small. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was exploitation, and they expected me to swallow it. If you want me to keep going, stay with me to the end of part 2, because the next thing I did is what made them call me heartless. I didn't argue. I reached for Chloe's hand across the counter. Her fingers were cold, sticky with dough. She looked at Patricia like she wanted permission to leave, and that alone made my throat tighten. I said, "We're going." Patricia's mouth opened, then closed. Lauren rolled her eyes, like I was being dramatic for an audience. Chloe stepped out from behind the counter and followed me. She didn't grab her jacket. She didn't grab anything. She just walked. Outside, the sun felt harsh. The parking lot noise felt too normal for what had just happened. In the car, Chloe stared straight ahead. When I started the engine, she finally whispered, "So, I'm not getting paid." "No," I said. "You're not." She blinked hard. She didn't scream. She didn't slam the door. She just sat there like she was trying to understand how a promise disappears. Back home, she went to the table and opened her sketchbook. She drew in silence. I watched her shoulders rise and fall with each careful breath. My phone buzzed. "Patricia, call me." "Lauren, don't be like this." Patricia again. "Family helps family." Lauren again. It was for her future. They were saying the same things they always said. Guilt, duty, reputation. Like those words mattered more than my daughter's bruised hands. I didn't respond right away. I made Chloe a real meal. I sat with her while she ate. I asked simple questions. How did she feel? Did anything hurt? Did she need anything? She shrugged. Then she said, "I thought I was doing something good." "You did," I told her. "You worked. You showed up. You tried." Her eyes flicked up. Then why are they mad? Because they expected obedience, I thought. Not fairness. I didn't say that out loud. After she went to bed, I sat alone in the quiet. I replayed week 1, week 2, the late nights, the flour bags, the cookie for lunch, her knees on that floor, my mother's arms crossed like a judge. I realized something that made my stomach drop. They hadn't even tried to hide it. They assumed I would accept it because it was family. And if I accepted it, Chloe would learn the same lesson, that her labor is free if the right person asks, that her body can be pushed until it hurts, that her dignity is negotiable. I opened my laptop. I didn't look for revenge. I looked for the right way to stop it. I wrote down what I knew. 6 weeks, 4 hours after school, full Saturdays. The week she worked 9 hours without a break. The week I saw her scrubbing the floor. The moment in week 6 when she was alone up front while Patricia and Lauren sat in the back with coffee. I kept it factual. Then I filed a report about child labor violations and cash fraud. I did it that night because waiting would only protect the people who lied. When I clicked submit, I didn't feel brave. I felt calm, like I had finally chosen my daughter over the pressure. For the next 2 days, I kept Chloe home from the bakery, obviously, and I kept my routine steady. School, dinner, homework, her pencils lined up on the table. She asked once, "Did I do something wrong?" And I said, "No." She asked again, "Are they going to be mad forever?" And I said, "That part is not yours to carry." I made sure she heard me, because kids will blame themselves if adults leave them room to do it. I wouldn't give her that room. I wrote down every hour she told me about, in case anyone asked later. I didn't coach her. I just listened. The next morning, Patricia called again. This time, her voice was softer. "Olivia," she said, "don't do anything you can't take back." "I'm not the one who did this," I answered. "You're making a big deal out of a lesson," she said, "for her own good." I asked her one question. "Were you ever going to pay her?" She didn't answer. That silence was the answer. I hung up. If you're watching this, and you've ever been told to keep quiet for the family, tell me, what would you have done in my place? The next day, Lauren sent a message like nothing happened. "She'll thank us later." Then another. "You're going to embarrass us." Embarrass. Not hurt Chloe. Not overwork a child. Not promise wages and refuse them. Just embarrass. 48 hours after I filed the report, the labor inspector and the tax authorities showed up at the bakery. I wasn't there. Chloe wasn't there. But I heard about it fast, because Patricia couldn't hold it in. She called, voice shaking, and said, "They're here. They're asking questions." I said, "Answer them." The bakery's operations were suspended. Accounts were frozen for the investigation. That's what Patricia told me between breaths, like she couldn't believe consequences were real. That night, she drove to my apartment. She didn't walk in angry this time. She walked in scared. She stood in my living room and put her hands together like she was praying. "Please," she said, "we're family." I looked at her and felt something steady in my chest. "Chloe is my family," I said. "And family doesn't mean you get to step on us." Patricia's eyes flashed. Then she tried guilt again. "You're destroying everything we built." I didn't raise my voice. "You destroyed trust," I said. "I'm just refusing to pretend." She left without hugging Chloe, without asking if Chloe was okay. She left with her own fear sitting on her shoulders. And I sat down beside my daughter's bedroom door, listening to her quiet breathing, thinking about that laptop. $200. That's all this started as. But it had turned into something bigger, not because I escalated it, because they did. If you want to hear what happened when the investigation finished, stay with me into part 3. The first week after the inspection felt long. Patricia didn't call to ask how Chloe was doing. Lauren didn't send a single, "Is she okay?" The only messages I got were about them. "We're being targeted. You know how hard we work. This is ruining our name." Always their name, their stress, their feelings. Chloe went back to her regular life. School in the morning, homework at the table, drawing in the late afternoon. But something had shifted. She didn't talk about the bakery anymore, not once. One night, she asked, very quietly, "Did Grandma ever mean what she said?" "What did she say?" I asked. "That family helps family." I held my voice steady. "Family should help," I said. "But help doesn't mean using you." Chloe nodded like she was filing the sentence away. There was no big confrontation after that. No dramatic phone call where I yelled. Just time moving forward. With the bakery closed and my mother locked in her own panic, Patricia tried again on the second week. She showed up at my door without warning. I didn't invite her in. I stood in the doorway. Her eyes looked tired. Her hands shook when she spoke. "They froze everything," she said. "We can't even access what we need." I didn't ask what she needed. The summary she kept offering always circled back to money and face. "We didn't mean harm," she said quickly. "It was just a lesson. For her own good," I said, finishing it for her. Patricia flinched. "You know what I mean." I kept my gaze on her. "Then say it plainly," I told her. "Say you promised wages, and you decided not to pay." She swallowed. She didn't say it. Instead, she went back to the old line. "We're family, Olivia," I stayed quiet a moment. Then I said, "Family doesn't get a free pass to humiliate a child." She looked past me toward the hallway, like she hoped to see Chloe, but Chloe stayed in her room. Patricia left. The third week was quieter. Too quiet. That kind of quiet where you realize the relationship isn't just strained, it's breaking. I didn't hear official details every day. I didn't need them. I knew what I reported. I knew what I saw. And I knew the bakery was under investigation. Chloe kept drawing. She drew a lot of hands that week. Small hands holding pencils. Small hands holding a laptop. Small hands holding nothing. In the middle of all that, she asked me something that made my chest ache. "Was I stupid?" she said, "for believing them?" I sat beside her and answered carefully. "No," I said. "You were honest. They weren't. That's not the same thing. If you've ever had to explain betrayal to a child without poisoning their heart, talk to me in the comments. That balancing act is heavy." At the end of the third week, the result came down. The bakery was hit with heavy penalties. It was ordered shut down permanently. Patricia and Lauren couldn't keep operating. That was the outcome. Clear. Final. Chloe's compensation came through with it. Not just the wages she earned, but the money added as part of the penalties. Altogether, it came to more than $6,000. When I told Chloe the number, she stared at me like she didn't believe it. "That's a lot," she whispered. "It's not a prize," I said. "It's what happens when adults break rules, and a child pays the cost first." She sat very still. Then she said, "So I can buy the laptop?" "Yes," I said. "You can." She didn't jump up. She didn't shout. She just let out a breath that sounded like she'd been holding it for 6 weeks. We ordered the laptop, the one she'd been looking at from the start. $200. She was careful about it. She checked the total. She asked if it was okay. I told her, "This is what you worked for." The rest of the money went into savings for her. I didn't dress it up as some big life lesson. I just told her the truth. "This is yours," I said, "and it stays yours." She nodded once, serious. After that, I expected another round of calls, another round of guilt. People don't give up control easily, but Patricia didn't come back. Lauren didn't apologize. The bakery didn't reopen. What they did instead was withdraw, like the silence itself was supposed to punish me. For a few days after we got the news, I kept expecting my phone to light up. I kept expecting Patricia to demand a meeting, or to insist I fix it. Nothing came. Just that empty space where obligation used to live. I went to work. I came home. I packed Chloe's lunch. I watched her shoulders relax little by little. She stopped flinching when her phone buzzed with a school notification. She stopped asking if she had to go back. I didn't celebrate the bakery closing. I didn't enjoy knowing accounts were frozen. I just felt relief that the grown-ups who chose to break the rules were finally the ones facing the weight of it. When Chloe drew, she started using brighter colors again. She didn't talk about Grandma, but she stopped blaming herself, and that was enough for me, quietly. And in a strange way, it did hurt. Not because I missed being controlled, but because it confirmed something I didn't want confirmed. They would rather cut us off than admit they were wrong. That's a hard thing to accept about your own mother. Still, when I looked at Chloe using her new laptop for her online class, when I saw her drawing on the screen with that focused little face, I felt something settle. Fairness mattered. Dignity mattered. Even when the people who taught you family try to use it against you. Part 4 is where Patricia makes one last attempt to pull me back under her rules, and I set the boundary firmly. Patricia didn't come to me with an apology. She came to me with panic. It was right after the bakery was suspended and the accounts were frozen, when she realized she couldn't talk her way out of consequences. She showed up at my place like the rules of my home didn't matter. She stood there, eyes wide, voice thin. "Olivia, please," she said. "We're family." I didn't invite her in. I stayed in the doorway with my body blocking the hall. Behind me, Chloe was in her room. I didn't call her out. I didn't ask her to perform forgiveness for the woman who had just called her naive. Patricia tried to soften her face. "You know we love her," she said. "This got out of hand." "It didn't get out of hand," I answered. "It stayed exactly where you put it." Her eyes flashed. "You always have to make it about you." I let that sit for a second, because it was the story she'd told about me my whole life. Olivia is difficult. Olivia is selfish. Olivia doesn't understand family. I kept my voice level. "You promised to pay Chloe $14 an hour. Patricia's mouth tightened. "She's 8. She doesn't need money. She needed fairness," I said. Patricia shifted immediately to guilt. "We gave her a place to learn. We gave her responsibility. We did it for her future." "For her future," I repeated, while she carried heavy flour bags until her hands bruised. Patricia waved a hand like that detail was inconvenient. "She's fine. She worked 9 hours without a break," I said. "She got a cookie for lunch." Patricia's cheeks went red. "That's not abuse. Don't use words like that." I didn't. I stuck to facts. "And I saw her on her knees scrubbing the floor while you watched," I added. Patricia's face changed. It wasn't shame. It was irritation, like I'd caught her doing something she didn't want witnessed. "She needs to learn," she said again, stubborn. "People don't coddle you." I stared at her, and I felt my patience tighten into something sharper. "You didn't teach her work," I said. "You taught her humiliation." Patricia's voice rose. "Don't twist it. You're making the family look bad." There it was. Reputation. Face. The same old currency. I didn't match her volume. I didn't let the moment turn into a shouting match she could retell later as Olivia lost control. I said, "My daughter is my family, and family doesn't mean you get to step on us." Patricia's eyes filled, but even that felt like performance. "So you're just going to let strangers destroy us?" "Strangers didn't do this," I said. "You did." She took a small step forward. "Olivia, please. We built that bakery. We worked so hard." I believed she worked hard. That wasn't the question. The question was why she thought her hard work gave her the right to use a child for free labor and call it love. "You can't fix this with guilt," I told her. "You can fix it by taking responsibility." Patricia's shoulders dropped, and for 1 second I thought she might actually say it. I thought she might admit she was wrong, but she didn't. She went back to the safest excuse. It was for the family. I nodded slowly. "No," I said. "It was for you." Her face went stiff. She turned her head, trying to see around me again, trying to reach Chloe without going through me. "Let me talk to her," she said. "No," I answered. One word. Clean. Patricia stared like she couldn't believe I had the nerve. "That's my granddaughter," she said. "And that's my daughter," I said. "You don't get access when you won't show her respect." Patricia's lips pressed together. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Then she left. No hug, no goodbye, just the sound of her footsteps on the stairs. After she was gone, I stood there longer than I needed to. I listened to the quiet. I checked on Chloe without making it dramatic. She looked up from her drawing and asked, "Was Grandma here?" "Yes," I said. "What did she want?" I chose truth without cruelty. "She wanted me to undo what I did." Chloe nodded, and her eyes dropped back to the page. "I don't want to go back," she said. "You won't?" I told her. 3 weeks after the investigation began, the bakery was fined heavily and closed for good. When that happened, Patricia didn't call to say she understood. She didn't call to ask if Chloe was okay. She didn't call to talk like a mother to a daughter. She cut contact. No more messages. No more family helps family. Just silence. People call that punishment. To me, it was clarity. Chloe received what she was owed, plus the extra money added as penalties. More than $6,000. She bought her laptop, and we put the rest into savings. The day the laptop arrived, Chloe set it on the table and ran her fingers over the lid like it was fragile. "This is mine," she said. "Yes," I told her, "and nobody gets to take it." That was the point. Not the money, the boundary, the limit. I didn't go too far. I finally went far enough. I was raised to keep the peace, to swallow my words, to smile so no one would say I was ungrateful. Patricia counted on that training. Lauren counted on it too. They thought I'd take Chloe home, wipe her tears, and send her back on Monday, because that's what women in my family have always done. But I couldn't do that to my child. Not and still look at myself in the mirror. Not the morning again. If you've made it this far, stay with me for part 5, because I want to tell you what it cost me, and why I still don't regret a single step. Chloe is 9 now. She sits at our table in Phoenix with her laptop open, taking her online class and drawing like the world is quiet and safe. That's what I wanted for her. Not perfection, just safety. There's still a part of me that waits for my phone to buzz with Patricia's name. Old habits don't die fast. I was trained to answer, trained to smooth things over, trained to be the daughter who absorbs everyone else's discomfort. But Patricia stopped reaching out after the bakery was shut down. She cut contact, and she made it clear she wanted me to feel the loss. Like silence was supposed to bring me crawling back. It didn't. The first few days were strange. Chloe asked once, "Are we still a family?" I told her, "We are." She asked, "Even if Grandma is mad?" "Even then," I said. "If you're a mother who's been told to just let it go for the sake of family peace, leave a comment. I read them. I really do." Chloe didn't talk about the bakery much after that. But she didn't forget it either. I could see it in the way she watched adults now, in the way she listened for the real meaning under the polite words. One afternoon, she brought her sketchbook to me and pointed to a drawing. It was a small girl at a counter, surrounded by grown-up hands that were too close. She didn't label it. She didn't need to. I said, "You can draw anything you want." She nodded. "I like drawing what's true," she said. "That's my kid." The money arrived the way the authorities said it would. More than $6,000 total, wages plus the added penalties. Chloe bought her laptop like she planned. $200. She didn't upgrade. She didn't splurge. She just bought the one thing she wanted from the beginning. We put the rest into savings. I didn't make a speech about it. I didn't turn it into a lecture. I just told her it was her money and it would stay hers. That was important, because the whole problem started with someone deciding her work wasn't worth paying for. Sometimes people hear this story and they fixate on the bakery closing. They say it's harsh. They say I should have handled it inside the family. But the family had 6 weeks to handle it. They had 6 weeks to pay what they promised. 6 weeks to stop pushing an 8-year-old past her limits. 6 weeks to treat my daughter like a person, not a tool. They chose not to. I didn't invent consequences. I reported facts. The inspectors and the tax authorities did their jobs. The bakery was suspended, accounts were frozen during the investigation, and 3 weeks later it was fined heavily and closed permanently. That's the timeline. That's the reality. The hardest part wasn't losing my mother's approval. The hardest part was realizing how easily she could look at Chloe and still prioritize her own control. Patricia kept saying, "For the family." Lauren kept saying, "For her future." But when Chloe came home late because the shop was too crowded, nobody asked if she was tired. When her hands bruised from carrying flour bags, nobody said, "That's too much." When she worked 9 hours without a break and got 1 cookie instead of lunch, nobody saw a problem. When she was on her knees scrubbing the floor while Patricia supervised with her arms crossed, nobody stopped her. When she was spinning at peak hour like a machine while 2 adults sat drinking coffee in the back, nobody felt shame. And when I asked about the pay they promised, they laughed. That laugh is what I hear when people tell me I went too far. I didn't. I finally stopped pretending that family is a shield for bad behavior. Chloe still has moments where she tests the edges of trust. She asks questions that sound simple, but they're not. "Do you have to do something if an adult tells you to?" she asked me once. "No," I said. "Not if it feels wrong or unsafe." "What if they say it's for your own good?" she asked. I paused, because I didn't want to teach her cynicism. I wanted to teach her clarity. "Then you look at what they're asking you to give up," I said. your time, your body, your dignity. If the cost is too high, it's not for your good. Chloe thought about that and went back to drawing. That's how healing looks in our house. Quiet, practical. No big speeches. Patricia's absence is still there, but it doesn't run the place. It doesn't get a vote. I don't chase her. I don't beg her to understand. I don't send messages into the void, because I already said what needed to be said when she stood in my doorway and begged me to undo it. I told her Chloe was my family, and I meant it. There are people who will always believe I should have chosen peace, but peace that requires my child to accept humiliation is not peace. It's surrender. Chloe's laptop sits on our table every day. It's normal now. That's the best part. It's just a tool for her class, a way to draw, a way to learn. And when she logs in, she doesn't owe anyone for it. Not with free labor. Not with silence. Not with her self-respect. I protected my daughter from betrayal wearing the mask of family. I didn't do it to punish anyone. I did it because a line exists, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. When I tuck her in at night, I remind myself, my job is not to be liked. In the end, fairness came back. Dignity came back. Chloe got what she earned. I got my spine back. Patricia chose to disappear. I chose my child. I have never regretted that choice.